but I'm gonna spin really fast like this. Looks crazy.
Vlog! 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 Look at my giant eyeballs. Hey guys, I feel like a bit of a square today.
Alright, so if this seems rehearsed, it's not because I actually did the smart thing and rehearsed it, it's because I hit the wrong button and didn't actually record myself talking the first time. So, kind of mimicking Dave the Creative One's little rundown of the Mountain Dew logo change over the last few years, I thought I would show you some of the Pepsi logos and beverage containers that I have in my little collection of soda stuff. So first we have the classic 60s, maybe late 50s Pepsi Cola Pepsi bottle. That's still a money back bottle, still when you paid a deposit on the bottle and then got the 10-cent deposit back when you returned the bottle. And something else I just wanted to point out here is you see this little wavy design here where the lines go across. I just wanted to point out to anybody who's not aware of this that is a classic Pepsi thing that they still do on the current bottles, which is a throwback, no pun intended, to the days when the bottle had those little ridges on it when a glass bottle. So next we have here the Pepsi cans that I have. I don't have a lot of them, but I have a few. First we have the Have a Pepsi Day Pepsi can, which I actually have an 8-pack of these, all of which were full when I got them, but 2 of them, including this one, I actually drained because they were rusting through and I didn't want them to leak, because I've had bad experiences with Pepsi, well, not really Pepsi, but just soda in general, the cans leaking from sitting, because, you know, they don't want to be in the can, they want to eat the can, because soda's great like that. And so they were basically rusting through and I didn't want them to leak, so I just did the sensible thing and took a can opener and drained them from the bottom. And it's one of the ones with the pop tab that pulls off and you rip off and throw on the ground, because it's the 60s and who cares about littering. So yeah, we have that one. Next we have the 70s era Pepsi Take the Pepsi Challenge, which essentially takes the red Pepsi logo from the Have a Pepsi Day can and just basically keeps that the only logo on the can. And this is actually, I like this can design because it's a continuous Pepsi logo the whole way around it, and it says Take the Pepsi Challenge. It's actually the can that this bottle, that's the new bottle that came out this past December, is based off of, and they did a pretty good job. It's a little different, but they gave it a shot, and they did a good job on these bottles. They're very good imitations of the originals that they're copying. So we have this one, and I just want to also point out at this point that because this can is from the 70s, you still have here on the list after water the famous sugar list, because we had yet to replace good natural sugar with high fructose corn syrup. So that's just, I thought was cool. Now next I have this can that's the same can design basically, except it doesn't have to Take the Pepsi Challenge, and it's a little, you know, they started funneling the top in a little bit instead of it being straight, and the bottom's a little bit different, but other than that it's essentially the same can design. The only difference is it now sports the great steel, the recycled metal, or steel, the recycled material thing, which is good, you know, recycling's good. And you'll notice here on the ingredient list that we now have high fructose corn syrup after water on the can, because it was the 80s and they decided, hey, you know what, we don't need to put sugar in our soda anymore, let's put some other stuff in. Alright, so next here we have in my thing, these are actually 6-packs I cut apart to sit them actually above my door in my bedroom on the door frame, because they're basically the can designs from my childhood. And here in the middle we have the Pepsi design that most people my age, or just people that were alive in the early and mid-90s that drank Pepsi, remember, which is essentially that same logo again of the red stripe with the Pepsi logo, except we've moved Pepsi from the middle of the swooshy thing to beside it, alternating between the two. And it's a can design that I really like. And I think the interesting thing I just realized here actually is that on this can, it actually lists the ingredients as, I don't know if you can see it there, but it says high fructose corn syrup and or sugar. And I think that's interesting because apparently at this point in time some bottlers had either gone back to sugar or had never gone off sugar, and for legal reasons Pepsi had to put and or sugar on the thing. And then also here, I kind of skipped it, is the Pepsi Cool Can that's from the late 80s, early 90s. It's actually interesting because unlike this can, this Pepsi can, which is aluminum, this is actually in a steel soda can still, which is interesting because I didn't realize that soda was still packaged in steel into the 90s. But it's just a cool can also. It's also obviously high fructose corn syrup and or sugar. It actually says, I don't know if you can see it better here, it says high fructose corn syrup and or sugar. So that's an interesting thing. I never realized that before. And just while I have them here, these 6 cans are actually I found these at my grandma's house actually, of all places. And they're basically just the soda can designs from my childhood. You have Mug Root Beer, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, 7-Up. This is a Pepsi You Got the Right One Baby can. Awesome can. And I'll actually put at the end of this video a picture of me with a You Got the Right One Baby shirt on, and a picture of me as a Diet Pepsi can when I was about 6 or 7 years old.
New Diet Pepsi with more real cola taste. A taste so delicious it's like no other taste in the world. Diet Pepsi and new caffeine-free Diet Pepsi, both with 100% NutraSweet.
And last year we have the classic Mountain Dew can from the 90s. I like the history of the design because, you know, it is interesting. It's a piece of culture that really doesn't get the attention that it, I think, deserves. Alright, so, don't know if we're going to use this part, but record it anyway, Phil. In the ingredients and not high fructose. You still have the famous sugar here.